Arabella. Freeholder Wright. Here. Vice Chairman Bergen.
Here.
And Chairman Jalla.
Here.
Chairman, you have 8 freeholders present.
Thank you. You please lead us in a prayer and salute to the flag.
Humbly we ask God, the giver of peace and the lover of charity, to give the entire family of nations true agreement with his will, and to grant the light of his spirit on all who work for justice and peace.
Clerk of the Board, can you please read the statement of compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act?
The chair wishes to announce that pursuant to requirements of New Jersey statutes annotated Title 10, Chapter 4, Section 10 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting of the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Union has been given by mailing the annual meeting schedule for the year 2015, along with periodic changes necessitated by circumstances, to the newspapers circulating within the County of Union who are designated to receive such notice, and by posting the annual meeting schedule for the year 2015 in the Administration Building, and further by filing the annual meeting schedule for the year 2015 in the office of the County Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We have approval of communications. We'll approve them at next week's regular meeting. Calling up Office of the Union County Prosecutor. How are you?
Members of the Board, Prosecutor's Office has one resolution on for your consideration. I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Any questions from the Board?
It's a standard one.
Seeing none, thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Department of Administrative Services, Norman Albert.
Members of the board, the department has 8 resolutions on for your consideration. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Freeholder Hudak.
Thank you, Chairman. Norm, what exactly is a Jacobson diesel ground maintenance equipment?
Essentially a lawnmower.
It's a lawnmower.
We just changed accounts. That was a reso that was on in February and
Okay.
approved.
Okay.
It's 2, actually. 2 lawnmowers.
Fancy way to say lawnmower. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
It
Chairman.
also mulches leaves. We don't.
Oh, see now that's the whole story.
Director, more out of curiosity than anything else, 4 and 5 are both public official bonds. Is there a reason they're coming from different companies?
I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware why.
Okay, I was just curious.
They're the
what-
same policies we had last year. They're the same amounts. I'm not aware. I'll look into it, though.
Thank you.
Freeholder Hudak.
Chairman, just a follow-up question on the Vice Chairman's question. How do we obtain those quotes? Do we go directly to the Hartford, or is that done through one of our insurance brokers?
Done through a broker.
Which brokers obtains those?
I believe it's Brown & Brown.
Okay, great. So it's more than just the help, because we often get asked about the services that are provided by the brokers. So they do the surety bonds for the various people who need bonding, because holding holding money and things like that. Great, thank you, Norm.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Director. Cornerstone Hospital, Michael Fleming, Acting Administrator.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Cornerstone has one resolution for your consideration. I'll try to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the board? Freeholder Carter.
It says that it's a reduction in hours in staff. Can you just go a little bit more into that?
Yeah, initially, when the resolution was passed, I believe on the 19th.
Can you use the microphone
Oh,
a
I'm
little bit
sorry.
more? Thank you.
Initially, when the resolution was passed, I believe on the 19th, it was written for 10 hours for the residents and 5 hours, I believe, for the attending. We reduced that now to 5 hours. The reduction reflects the fact that we did hire a full-time psychiatrist.
Okay. That's what I just wanted to make the correlation. to understand why we're reducing hours, and we just approved something a couple weeks ago, so thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Department of Economic Development, Deputy County Manager William Reyes.
Good evening, Chairman, Freeholders. The Department of Economic Development has 2 resolutions for your consideration. I'm ready to answer any questions you may have, and if I may, both resolutions actually are a result of a shared service resolution that was previously approved by the board.
Any questions from the board? Freeholder Mirabella.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, with what, so the first one is with the township of Trailside, is that the shared service area?
That's correct.
And the second one?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Just Elizabeth, because I know that intersection is, that's all, it's not a foreign line.
No, just Elizabeth in that intersection.
All right, thank you very much.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Department of Finance, Director B.B. Taylor.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. The Department of Finance has 1 resolution for your consideration this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from the board? Freeholder Kowalski.
Yes, just the obvious question of when you expect to fill in the blanks as to the numbers.
Okay, I can say this in this meeting, that was my question too.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. The resolution authorizes the acceptance of the purchase price for the refunding bonds that were previously authorized during the February meeting. The estoppel period just ended on those bonds effective March 17th. As a result, we are pricing next week, next Thursday. So once the price is complete, we will insert those pricing numbers into the resolution. I'm happy to report, though, based upon market conditions, we anticipate realizing a savings of $4.2 million over the remainder of the life of the bonds that we authorized.
Thank you.
That's good. Any other questions? Thank you, Director.
I'm sorry.
Vice Chairman.
And is that just because interest rates are better, or is it because we had our bond rating improved a couple weeks?
It's a combination of everything. I have to say that because our rating did improve, the negative outlook was removed because our balance sheet as well as our financial operations have improved over the last 4 years, coupled with market conditions, is just prime for us to take advantage of these savings.
Thank you, Director.
Anything else? Thank you, Director. Department of Human Services, Director Frank Guzzo.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The department has 3 resolutions on for your consideration, and I'll attempt to answer any questions you have at this time.
Freeholder Hudak.
Good evening, Director Guzzo, how are you?
Good evening, Freeholder.
Just a couple questions. First, regarding the extension for Corizon, are we currently out to bid for a longer-term contract? Because I see just a 2-month extension.
We've actually, this has been an extension for, I believe, well over a year. This may be the 4th time we've extended it because of different changes with the Affordable Care Act, and we went out once and we had to reject all of the bids. So this now, the bids are in, they've been reviewed. We have 4 or 5 that are remaining. Committee has to meet and will review and make recommendations. So we're giving ourselves the additional 2 months in order to be able to get all of that done. And also, we have a current provider. If there's going to be a transition with another one, we need that period of time in order to transition them in from the old contractor.
Director, and many conversations that I've had with you as well as Director Reardon in regarding to the jail, because we're talking about probably one of the sickest populations in Union County. So obviously cost is a factor, but I imagine you're also keeping into consideration other things in terms of trying to be a bit more proactive in terms of preventative health amongst the inmate population?
Well, you know, you're absolutely, through you, Mr. Chairman, absolutely correct about the population that's managed in both the jail and somewhat to the same extent in the detention center.
And Horizon handles both, I would imagine?
They do. They have a contract for both houses. the real issue now is what is covered now as a result of the Affordable Care Act. And if the board would remember, we've been through that and making sure that those inmates that have to be hospitalized for a period of 24 hours or more, that is picked up now under Medicaid. And so we've had to put certain things within the RFP that was not in there before to make sure that we're picking that up and it's being picked up under Medicaid as opposed to county paying it.
Now we are enrolling people or having people enroll on Medicaid upon being brought into the jail?
We just met this week actually to work out the final process. The state issued some final regulations through the Department of Family Development about 3 or 4 months ago. So there is an enrollment piece that we're putting in place. In addition to that, if you recall from previous conversations, the state of New Jersey was exercising the option of when people came in that were already covered to terminate them from services, which means that when they're released, they'd have to go back and reapply, which could take 60 or 90 days in order to do that, which means they have no services upon release. The state now has reversed itself, and now when someone comes in, they are suspended. So what that means in essence, as we know that they're going to be released, then that they're put back on. So when they are released, they're eligible for various services, things like medications, and if they need to go into drug treatment, all of that is picked up, or to a certain extent of it is picked up under Medicaid now, as opposed to us paying for it in the past, or any county in the past. So that is going to be a savings, and we'll be able to provide some information on that as the year progresses.
Thank you, Director. And just regarding number 1, we have $100,000 for the 2015 Coordinated Community Care Spending Plan. What exactly do these funds go towards, and what population does that cover?
Senior population, it's to preserve people in their homes, it provides home health aides and things like that. It goes to agencies in the county that work towards keeping seniors healthy within their homes instead of having to go into nursing homes.
Thank you very much, Director. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Freeholder Granados.
Just a follow-up to Freeholder Hudak's question. Do you have a rough estimate of how many seniors, individuals over the age of 60, benefit from this program?
I don't think I have an LOS in here, but I'll get it for you before you have to vote.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
Department of Parks and Recreation, Director Ronald Zuber.
Good evening, Chairman and Freeholders. Department of Parks and Recreation has one item on tonight's agenda, and I'll try to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the board? Thank you, Director. Department of Public Safety, Director Andrew Moran.
Good evening, Chairman, members. Board Department has 2 resolutions on for your consideration. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Freeholder Hudak.
Thank you, Chairman. Just very quickly, 50 responders from the UASI region being trained by the Kennedy School of Government. How many of those will be from Union County? I know because UASI is a multiple county group.
Yeah, each of our UASI partners will have 5 slots in the class.
All right, great. Thank you.
Freeholder Mirabella.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the 5 slots, is that equal to $46,000?
There's 50 slots altogether, and each agency gets roughly 5 spots.
All right, so is it just funding through Union County, or how does it work?
This funding is through UASI. It's totally UASI funded. We had done 2 classes last year with this Harvard Leadership Program. It was very successful, and the UASI subcommittee wanted to do it again for responders that couldn't make the first 2 classes.
All right, so maybe I didn't ask the right question, or maybe I'm just not understanding it, but for the $46,000, what do we get for that? The opportunity to send 5 people to 2 classes, or is it something different?
No, it's a two-day class, and it's a program developed by Harvard, and it's the class, the instructors, all the materials, and breakfast and lunch for the participants.
All right, perhaps I'll have additional questions you have.
Chairman, may I I just ask one quick follow-up?
Sure.
And I'm actually, I just want to make sure, I think I know where Freeholder's going with this particular question, and I'd like to know the answer too. Is the $46,000 for 5 slots, for 5 responders from Union County to be trained? Or is Union County the pass-through for this funding, and that's for all 50 responders to be
Oh,
trained?
no, it's for all 50 responders. It's for the whole class.
But as a part of our obligation through UASI, this particular purchase to the Kennedy School is being funded through Union County. Is that correct?
It's funded through UASI grants, that's a pass-through
Correct.
through Union County. We're
So
facilitating.
just like, say, the city of Newark, because Newark is part of HOS, they may one day have to pay for a training like this, but they'll be sending responders from Union County. Is that correct understanding?
It's how UASI is breaking up this purchasing, as Morris County may be in charge of a different program that we may benefit.
But because we're in this cooperative, someone may pay for it at a particular time.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Any other questions? Thank you, Larry. Office of the County Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Office of the County Council has 5 items on tonight's agenda, and I would be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions from the board? Thank you, County Council.
You're welcome.
At this time, I'll ask if any freeholders have any additional resolutions to add. Freeholder Granados.
Chairman, I know Freeholder Estrada's not here at the moment, but I would like to be added on to his Public Health Week resolution.
Anyone else? Freeholder Hudak.
Chairman, as a result of the fiscal committee, we will have a resolution for internal position controls.
Thank you. Freeholder Mirabella.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll have a laudatory resolution as well added for Mr. Charles Taylor of Scotch Plains.
Thank you. Freeholder Kowalski.
Yes, I expect to have a laudatory too. I'll provide details shortly.
Thank you. Freeholder Carter.
I will probably have a laudatory also.
Okay. Anyone else? I think that was pretty much everyone. A good measure, I'll also have a laudatory.
Who's holding space?
No,
I have one.
seriously, I really have. I also have a resolution for appointments to the advisory board clerk, if you can get that down as well. All right. We have a need to go into executive session. County Council, can you please make a statement relative to that?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, the public body may enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing certain enumerated subjects. This board now wishes to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending contract negotiations and attorney-client privilege communications relative to an amendment to the management services agreement with the Union County Improvement Authority for the Park Madison Building. Attorney-client privilege communications relative to a potential settlement in the matter of Sabatino versus County of Union et al.'s. Pending contract negotiations and attorney-client privilege communications relative to potential food truck and rock carnival. And last, attorney-client privilege communication and potential litigation relative to certain general contract terms and conditions. The minutes of the executive session shall be separated from the minutes of the open public session. The minutes of the executive session, redacted as appropriate and necessary, shall be available in approximately 30 days. Clerk to the board shall retain the original minutes until such times the confidential limitations have been removed, at which time they shall be made available. Upon the affirmative vote of a majority of the members present, the board may retire to executive session. Upon the board's return, given this is an agenda meeting, no formal actions will be taken on the matters discussed.
Thank you. I have a motion
welcome.
to enter into executive session.
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Mirabella, seconded by Freeholder Hudak. Clerk of the board, may I have a roll call?
Freeholder Carter?
Yes.
Freeholder Granados?
Aye.
Freeholder Hudak?
Aye.
Freeholder Kowalski?
Yes.
Freeholder Mirabella? Freeholder Wright?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bergen?
Yes.
And Chairman Jallo?
Aye.
Chairman, you have 8 votes in the affirmative.
Thank you. We are in executive session.
Yes.
Moved by Freeholder Mirabella, seconded by Freeholder Wright. Clerk of the board, may I have a roll call?
Freeholder Carter?
Yes.
Freeholder Granados?
Aye.
Freeholder Hudak?
Aye.
Freeholder Kowalski?
Yes.
Freeholder Mirabella? Freeholder Wright?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bergen,
Yes.
and Chairman Jallo. Chairman, you have 8 votes in the affirmative.
County Council, do you have a statement to make relative to the executive session?
I do, Mr. Chairman, thank you. As a result of the executive session, I would propose 2 additional resolutions for next week's meeting. One will be a resolution authorizing the county manager to execute an amendment to the management services agreement between the County of Union and Union County Improvement Authority relative to the Park Madison project, and a resolution authorizing the county manager to enter into an agreement relative to a food truck and rock carnival.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I have a motion to adjourn? So moved.
Second.
Moved by Freeholder Mirabella, seconded by Linda Carter. All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.